Hi, good evening, everyone. Shall we? A very, very good evening to all of you. It's great to see the smiles now that we are all not masked. Always a popular topic among the startups and founders and the whole ecosystem, funding. Today's session, through an investor's lens, will give you insights on the how and the why you understand when prepping to pitch and also when speaking to investors. The session will be run by two of our amazing charter members, Dr. Manoj Nakra and Ivan Fernandez, both of who comes with a wealth of practical knowledge and experience that will give you all the information and tools that you will need to raise your millions. Before we start, a little about TIE Dubai. In a nutshell, TIE is an organization that fosters entrepreneurship globally. What started as a conversation, a small gathering in Silicon Valley in 1992, has now turned into 60 chapters in 14 countries. How TIE functions is on 5 main pillars, namely mentoring, networking, education, funding, and incubation. While TIE has a global reach, we make sure each chapter gets to focus on the local ecosystem. There are some great programs which we run for all the entrepreneurs here in the UAE and across the MENA region. The Mentorship Program, extremely beneficial for companies that are looking for support from seasoned and successful entrepreneurs who will help you to navigate your startup journey better. The Thai University Program, where we work with idea stage entrepreneurs and help their business come to life. The other one is the Thai Women Program, the MENA program, where we get to engage with a lot of amazing women entrepreneurs from across the MENA region. The program focuses on women-led or co-led companies. The Thai Women Finals, in fact, will be at GITEX on October 12th. So if you're here, do make it a point to come there. It's on the spotlight stage in the North Star section between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we had over 200 applicants, licensed businesses who are run by women entrepreneurs apply. 42 were shortlisted and 5 winners were picked from each of these regions. Now, these women are flying in from their respective regions, Egypt, Saudi, Levant, rest of Middle East and UAE, and they will compete for a prize of $35,000 plus a lot of value. I think there's a slide that's showing some of it. So they're actually being mentored by our charter members right now to make sure that they have everything they need to get there. And they then go on to pitch for $100,000 in December in Hyderabad. So it's a great program. This year's is gone, but it'll be there again next year. I did meet some women entrepreneurs, so do make sure you keep an eye out and apply. TIE Dubai is the Middle East chapter of TIE based in Dubai Internet City and has been around for almost 20 years now. The easiest way to be a part of this community and get to know about all the events and programs we run is by liking us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to access all our events and programs. You can just look for TIE Dubai everywhere. A very special thank you to all the charter members of TIE Dubai, especially the ones who are here today, and to all the board members who make all the amazing in the chapter happen for the entire MENA region. Moving on to our speakers for today. Manoj is a co-founder of Skip. He has built SaaS platforms that are now used by 10 angel networks and an incubator in India. He is also an independent director on the board of Urban Fashion Limited, a BSE listed company. An extremely humble human being who will make you think about where you're coming, from where you intend to go, with all the scenarios and questions he's going to put in front of you today. He became CEO of Waterbase Limited in 1990, a company he listed on the Mumbai Stock Exchange. He was also CSO for Apparel Group, a retail company in Dubai. He was executive director of Dubai SME, a a government organization that catalyzes entrepreneurship. Manoj is a mechanical engineer from IIT Delhi, an MBA from IIM Bangalore, and a DBA from Case Western Reserve University, USA. Ivan, a serial entrepreneur with a very successful track record of converting startups to successful businesses that have in fact been acquired by MNCs. He has been an active mentor and investor in several startups for over decades, where he takes an active role in supporting these startups with strategy and execution. Ivan, one of the co-founders of Thai Dubai, is second president and current director of mentoring. You have two amazing people here to give you the tricks to your millions. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Cecily. Today's event is definitely not going to be a one-way talk, and I do not want that to be. So I hope we make this a very interactive session, because I want you guys to really, question some of the theories, some of the thought processes, and also probably be active participants in some of the analytics that Dr. Manoj will run through. He is the architect of today's event, and he has done an enormous job on preparing the slides today. But unless you guys really participate and get inputs into it, I think there will be no justice, because for me, investment is very individualistic. So what I think may not be true for him or somebody else. There is some common parameters, but there are a lot of distinctive features, and so when it's a group that normally is used to decide whether we like this, whether we don't like it. That's why we always have committees within angel forums to review business plans when we think that they're good enough, and whether we should look at them in all seriousness. But having said that, we are in 2022. How many of you are really looking for funding this year? Fairly large number. How many got funding last year? Nobody?
The one who got us out of the room.
Yeah, somebody told me that he invested and he exited also last year. So I think he is probably one of the luckiest guys there. Yeah. He probably now will put it in fixed deposit, because the rates are already going up, correct? Yeah, so, and how many of you, how many of you, that was my next question, how many of you have actually gone into the investment cycle? Ever raised money from, doesn't matter, whether from friends, family, investors, good. So you have gone through the pain. So you will definitely be very, very, fruitful with your participation today. Okay? How many have put money? Let's look at the other side. Good. So I think we have got both sides equally participating. So that's very good. So you are probably, if you have a plan and somebody comes up and really convinces today, maybe there are guys to even roll out the checks. But that's not happening in 2022. Exactly. This year, nothing has changed. Everything looks normal, correct? But if you look at the number of investments that's happening, it is suddenly reduced. It's still the same. Somewhere in Dubai, cost of goods probably are going up, but there are a number of reasons for it. But you look at companies that you value, take any random measure. Look at the Nasdaq IPOs this year. I think as of yesterday, 159, if I'm correct, compared to 767 or something like that last year. So, gives you an indication as to that something is going on somewhere.
Best time to buy.
Good, very good, very good. Best time to buy. Okay, but
not in pounds.
not in bonds.
Actually, best time to buy is by things which are designated as well.
Yeah. That's correct. So if you guys look at even some of the best, take Flipboard. It's a Silicon Valley company, pretty, not a new company, not a very early startup, well known in the digital publishing, social media space. They did a round of funding just I think July. Okay, they struggled to raise 25 million. And you know what was the valuation at that time? They are valued at 100 million. Last year, the same company was valued, the previous round, at 900 million. 90% discount to the last round. Think about the guy who invested in the last round. Valuation is a different case altogether in India. Yeah, exactly. They don't support it. Okay. Even if you look at Europe, there's a very powerful fintech called Klarna. A lot of people know that, correct? BNPL. Yes, BNPL. They were one of the leaders in BNPL. Last year they were valued 46 billion. They also raised 800 million. Okay. What valuation? 6.7 billion. 85% discount to the last valuation.
Apple is also not BNP. Apple is also not.
Yeah, just giving you a result. So has the businessman changed? Not really, no. The businessmen have not changed. Now they will change. Now obviously the operating side, the spending side will be curtailed heavily. But as things stand, nothing has drastically changed to get a lot of capital, availability of capital, cost of capital has changed. And if you look at what has changed fundamentally, it's only the economic impact has changed. Correct? Until last year, money was fairly cheap. Most of the interest rates around the world were what, zero or negative. So you keeping your money in the bank give you hardly any return. So obviously investors were looking at alternate investments, and there weren't too many alternate passive investments giving you good returns. So obviously we had money coming into startups and the private ecosystem. Now it's different. The world is slowing down. That's what you hear, I'm sure, when you look at the news. And the major economies are saying we may get into recession. The central banks are now busy trying to see if you cannot stop it, how to defer it, how to delay it. And what's the only tool they have? Increase interest rates. And that's why they are in a hurry to increase interest rates. That's creating a lot of inflation on one side. But for investors, it's a good period. Now they don't have to take the risk of knowing all their business plans and what they do and risk it, and you may not deliver it and they will lose the money, correct? Now you will just put it somewhere and they say, I'm easily getting 8%, 9% returns on my investment. Why should I really invest into all this hardcore tech companies? And that's where the liquidity crunch is coming in. So that's the basis of the changes that are happening. Until now, companies are not looking at your cash flows. They are not looking at your profitability. They are telling you how much you can acquire, which market you can acquire, how many AR transactions you can do. Now the questions are, what is your cash flow position? If I give you the money, how many months you can last? When you will be really profitable? So the questions are different. So you need to be tuned to those things. So for the same pitch, when you would go to investor last year, the way you would present, the way you would prepare is different from what you would do today. It's the same person that you're going to, it's the same businessman you're going to, but you're going to a totally different ballgame. And that's probably what we will look at it, in more detail. So once we get into our evaluation stage, then Manoj will take over. But even to get to an evaluation stage, the real evaluations, in my opinion, are 2 to 3% of the total business plans that come into the ecosystem. I'm a very small investor in the overall game. Okay? Many have more bigger. But you and I, on a monthly basis, get 30 to 40 proposals. Okay? Now, do we really go through all those 30 to 40 proposals that you send on email or WhatsApp or LinkedIn or all this thing? No, there's no way on earth anybody would do this. Okay? So what happens when you send a proposal to somebody? How once you open, how do I know your ROI if I've not opened your email?
I'll find the reference.
Again?
I'll find the reference to somebody.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Like for me, if I get it from a trusted source, a source that knows my capability and tells Ivan, this could be good for you, it's like a tick. Okay? And that's why we are part of so many startup ecosystems, correct? Within the ecosystem, we share these knowledges. We know that, okay, my expertise is in fintech. So somebody, if there's something in fintech, there's Ivan, can you quickly press to this and let us know what you think about this? He may be a healthcare specialist. Somebody else could be something else. So when it comes through the trusted source, it makes sense to us. Secondly, when we work to this forum, for example, even with TAI, we have the TAI Global Angel Network, we have TAI India Network, and even here the Dubai Angel. So there is a set of guys who basically do the initial review, and then they will only forward it to you if they think it is worth looking at it. So when it comes to those services, then again we know that somebody has done some of the work for you. But if it's just a blinder, it doesn't mean that you will never open. When a blinder comes in, make sure that we may put it as a very curious email that somebody has to open. Your subject line or your first 2-3 lines in your paragraph have to be something that should make sense to me. When it says something, it could be something interested in my domain. It could be something related to my expertise that I can help you out. Or it could be something the world is talking about that I think that I should not miss. If none of this happens, then forget it. Then chances are it would remain in the inbox or delete. This is the truth. Just because no individual can do anything, any justice to anybody. And in the process, we may lose 1 or 2 good proposals. It happens, but that's how the process happens.
I will the only reason in my opinion somebody invests in any kind of
Oh. Exactly.
Any kind.
Exactly. So that's why from your perspective, the guys who are investing,
What did he say?
he said FOMO, fear of missing out. Yeah, but that's a criteria that a lot of people do when they grow. He's investing, I need to be with him. Okay? So when we know who the co-investors are or who is leading this investment, and you know that these guys have a very good track record of making it happen, then you don't want to lose out. Okay? But I'm talking from an isolation perspective. These are all the differences that we normally look at. So it gives you indication. So when you want to approach somebody, what's the channel? That's very, very, very important. Once that comes in, then obviously once you open, then we look at the promoter, who is he, what's the team, what's his business plan, what really does he do, what he says that makes sense, which is the core market, what's the value add, all the rest of the things come into that. Then probably somebody will take it up and do a real detailed review of it to say, is it worth it, is it not worth it? Okay, so that's, so make sure that whatever you send, to a great extent try to channelize it. If you don't do it, then you start itself on a wrong foot. The other thing that you have to always know, and which is important, is that every entrepreneur thinks whatever business plan he has prepared is the best. You will never find an entrepreneur who will say, my plan is not the best. Okay? And he should think so. Because if he's not thinking that he'll be the next billionaire, how can he even start? Correct? If I don't believe that my plan is the best and I can make it happen, then how will I go to him and get money from him? Okay. But the limitation is he should only think that that is his thought and his belief. The money comes from him. How do I now pass on this same intent into him that he also thinks that I can do it? If these two things happen, it doesn't matter how good your business is. Not all good businesses get money. Okay. So, but it is matching of two brains that makes this happen. statistics and say your plan had this, you were missing this, but at the end of the S1 is how well you are able to convince your investor that he needs to now open his checkbook, write the money and give it to you. And that takes a lot of passion, commitment, courage, you can call what you want. Okay? So if you go through that, then yes, then you open up into more detail on your business. You say this doesn't work, this cannot work, this can work, this is how you have to do. Are you ready to change your business model if I come in? All these other things. And to set that stage, I'll now call upon Dr. Manoj. You will start taking some practical examples, and then we'll start going through them, seeing that how the pitch came, what happened, why it went up, whether it good, good or bad, and if you guys were investors there, would you invest them or would you not invest? Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, you can. So, look at a scenario of you wanting to raise about $500,000. You need to get an attention of an investor, and every second of the investor is $1,000 because that's the quantum that he wants to pitch in, and therefore every second counts. And if you look at this, an average, the traditional, you'll get into Google, you'll say, give me a standard pitch deck, you get 12 sections. The TechCrunch data shows that 450 seconds is what an investor looks at when you get it on a WhatsApp or an email. That is assuming that he or she goes through the full deck. Very often it could be the first or the second slide and it's erased. And look at the fact that business model and financials are roughly that quantum of time. But on an average, it's about 30 seconds on a slide. And if the slide doesn't talk to the investor at any stage, you are not supposed to talk when a deck goes out. The deck has to talk. So what I'm going to show you examples of actual slides from a deck broken by section. All the businesses here got funded, but that doesn't mean the slides were good. Some slides were good and some were terrible. So there's nothing called a good deck. Yeah.
Last slide had circle, you can
Beg your pardon? These sections? So what are you trying to do?
No.
The green and the red.
So I've highlighted only because competition is an area where I find a lot of decks have no slide. Particularly at the early stage, the entrepreneur doesn't do much research before putting any material in and just skip it over. The business model is frequently not found. And the way it has to be presented has to be simple to understand, and we'll see the slides as we get along. Fundraising ask is often a slide which has very preliminary, rudimentary information. And as we go into the slide, I'm going to show you what the intent of the entrepreneur should be from an expectation of an investor. And since we have investors here, we'll be able to play the game. And we usually, most of the stuff that you will see here is going to be seed, angel, or pre-series A. Late stage decks are very different. And what I'm trying to show here is going to be the broad frame of our discussion. You must, as an entrepreneur, have a capacity to articulate that where do you add value in your business. And the way people add value is through knowledge and stuff like that. And you have to make the business which you are putting in faster, at a lower cost, more productive, simple, or compact. There aren't any other ways of making a business valuable when you're trying to get into an industry. And I use these two images from yoga because if you keep thinking, doing a yoga exercise standing straight, you won't be able to show the difference. You're going to flip it around, and that's disruption. The odd word which we use in the business lingo is disruption. So the opening page of the deck, this is a company which is converting biomass into plastics. And it uses a line saying cutting edge engineering, biomass based to end microplastic. Kind of means something to you, right? Or doesn't? Here is a company which is doing exactly what it's saying. AI-driven financing solutions to climate entrepreneurs. Accelerating software engineers' growth. So each slide you will see is there is a communication which is trying to go out to the investor, which again lays the frame of what's going to come. Now, very often, this slide is rarely used, but if you have traction and you can show its growth on your first slide, everybody is going to go through that deck completely. So there's no hard and fast rule of making a presentation's first slide, but the first slide is damn important. Here is a company which said, the guys from Spotify. And I want to ask you, if you look at this slide, what would be your first instinctive reaction? You're showing the team which is coming out. And there are investors in the room. Is it positive, is it negative?
Negative.
Super
Positive.
Who said negative?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they spent 8 years and 8 years for scaling, and what do they reach from now?
So we won't have a. So I'll listen to you. How many said positive? In order to convince yourself it's positive, what's the first thing you will do when you look at this slide?
Is the product related to the experience that we have?
Even before that.
Experience of scaling up.
He could be the founder of Spotify. I could be his executive assistant. Does that count? Traditionally, I've seen most presentations when it comes to the team slide.
8 years in Google.
Exactly. So the question is that don't use this slide if a little research on Google can land you into deep trouble. So every slide you're not only saying what's the message, but you're also saying what are the downsides of my message. Because remember, investors take quick decisions, but they have their thumb rules by which they analyze every statement that you make. Imagine you spend 5 years looking at 10,000 decks. Your brain has actually been programmed to a level, you see a slide and you know it's right or wrong. And that pattern recognition in most investors is extremely good. So even if they reject your deck, don't consider it a problem. There are other investors who look at it.
So what do you see as
So first reaction of mine in this was that if they've really worked in Spotify at a lead level when Spotify was starting, they would have had experience of starting a company and seeing the challenges along the way. And I love that experience.
And you work for that.
Yes. So that's what. And then, here, this is a business in which we just closed the second round of investment. 27-year-old high-tech kid, fairly clueless about business, but growing at a very, very rapid rate. This is his second round. And imagine he said plug-and-play SaaS product for geospatial data analysis and warehousing. I lost it. But he raised money because but what he, look at it, what he did as sales in 1 year, he completed in a quarter, and currently we will finish it about $1.5 million.
So other people understood.
So be very careful of what you want to communicate. And this is a simple example of a deck which you should look at. Talk about what the business is, talk about what you want to do, AI powered via subscription, raising $2.5 million. You're telling to the investor what I'm doing, there's some tech in it, and how much money do I need? And that's a simple, straightforward message. Now, when you start to look at the problem, every entrepreneur's problem is different. And you are living with it. You have to make it simple for people to understand. So this is the plastic company which starts at agriculture waste and builds it up. Now, what do you think of this slide? Yeah. If you're in the business of sustainable investment as an investor, this slide is actually giving you the entire story of the business. That what is going to be the impact of my business on sustainability. And therefore, sometimes a slide, if this had no graphs like this with images and numbers, it would have been very difficult to communicate. So yes, so it's not a good or a bad slide, it worked. Sustainable investors.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be talking about how to select investors before you pitch, but that's a separate matter. Now, value proposition, as I said, is an important element. Now here, this same biomass company says what they do, and they highlight the fact that 5 patents are pending. Which now excites a person more that there is tech there which could work. Yes. And then it says these are the applications. Now another company comes in, so here this particular company raised money for connecting veterinary doctors with people with pets. And it says the problem of this business is the pet industry is booming. A lot of entrepreneurs find it very difficult to look at the word problem, confuse it with opportunity, and confuse it with solution. A problem is the pain that I feel as a consumer. So immediately when you look at something like this, you will see this person who's presenting doesn't understand the word problem because he labeled it as problem. And then it went on to say, telemedicine has revolutionized how humans take care of themselves, thanks to the pandemic, and gives examples. And then it says our veterinary system is failing pet owners and it's failing vets, because pet owners avoid going to the vet. That's not a problem. And they say vets are breaking down and so many of them commit suicide. Telemedicine is going to solve this? Fair amount of confusion. Now it suddenly says this is the market and it brings opportunity into it. 100 million dogs and 85 million cats are in the market, and 330 million people, 92% have insurance and only 2% have insurance. What's the message to you? If you can have insurance for pets, yes. But what else? What is the basic consumer behavior of a person who has a pet?
Generally taken that something's wrong.
And they pay with their pocket because the pet can't speak. So whatever the vet says, you take it out of your pocket. It's a very interesting facet of this industry. And this number itself is starting to show that there is a market there which is an opportunity. Sorry. Now they start talking about what they want to do. We want to bring pet care to the human level of experience. The problem was not defined. The solution has got defined. And somewhere in the 5 slides of problem and solution, it brought the opportunity. So you fail on a few slides, but if you still carry some number which hits the investor, he's going to start to pay attention.
Did these get invested?
Yeah. 24 million pre-series A straight, single person. but he started the business in the US, start got traction. Yeah. I just want to mention over here one small thing. That when you mention that this is the opportunity, the person has not spoken at all. It's a figure which is hidden somewhere. You've got to look at every number while making the deck and assess what that number means to a listener who doesn't know the industry. And remove and eliminate everything that doesn't count. All the slides have too much text. You'll never be able to complete it even in a 15-minute pitch. Because 5 slides on the problem, opportunity. Here's a company which is basically going to be raising money to create a fund for investment for climate change technology. And it says that it has, we won't be able to hit the 2 degrees change target, which is a part of the UN Charter. It's funded with expensive money. I want to bring capital, but I want fixed income. What it's saying is that climate change cannot take risk capital of the traditional kind. So it's again talking to somebody who's in the industry of finance and is now talking that language. And then it says, I want entrepreneur-friendly capital with AI automation. What they said in the second slide should have been in the first one. That you have 2 types of customers you're giving value to, entrepreneurs and the person who has money. And then it talks of the value proposition for each customer of theirs and then says, I want to raise the money. So the very few decks will have a separate slide for value proposition, but value proposition defined for each customer of the startup. It's going to be very clear, customer stroke stakeholder. And all of a sudden, it produces a slide and puts a few things and writes a lot of tech. The trend of thinking of an investor is destroyed. However much you may talk, how much you may try to explain, is not adding value to the presentation. Now, this is a very interesting startup. We are all in the tech business, a lot of us. Developers are next to impossible to get. So we get a lot of developers from colleges, and by the time you train them, they are ready to look for a new job. Right? So they have a 12 to a 14-month cycle with you. And because it says you've got to increase efficiency, it's talking to people who are in the domain of tech. Once again, very targeted investor community to whom you should take this to. Actually, before I was in tech, even then I would have got interested from what follows from here. Now, too many words. Please don't ever think that a lot of text adds heft and weight to your presentation. The line is actually this. It's an ever-growing problem. Developers need to practice and master skills rather than just coding. In my business, I have a recruitment platform which is coming out for a certain category of people in the industry. And when I'm talking to the tech guys, he said, I don't care about the coding skills of the guy. Does he know how to define a problem and solve it? So problem solving and solution searching are the skills that they are looking at. And they say CV and testing coding is all automated. But can you give me a psychometric test for doing that? So that's why this becomes a very critical capability to speed up productivity of a software coder. Now imagine what's happening today. You'll just lose it. Online courses are ubiquitous but have a low completion rate. Large enterprises spend time and money. Engineers spend large portions of their time. Mid-market companies don't have the luxury. It's a waste of time. Simplify these things. And then it says, I have a value-adding capability which I brand with my company. And then it says what it does for engineers. It engages them and starts to do mentoring and developing them and leave the rest out. This is the solution. It's created a fantasy company where developers can embark on requests, so it calls it Quest, that simulate real life experience in a software company. So imagine the extent to which a software engineer would get engaged with a fantasy game. Engagement is the key to completion of a learning process. And then it says you come into a company, you get into a game experience, you learn the tools, you grow the soft skills, and then you start to become productive. This single slide speaks far more than everything else that they spoke about. Were the others required? Even this could have been made graphic if you tried your, or a person who's doing a fantasy game better make it with animation. And then, of course, the single slide says what it does. So you now start to get interested in evaluating this company and checking whether they have traction. And focus on the benefits and not the features. This is a classic error of 99% entrepreneurs. They love their product so much, they only talk about the product and hope and pray that people understand what the product does. Recommend don't talk about the product. Can you communicate your business without talking about what you do? This is a very, very interesting deck, and you'll just see the simplicity of the message. Equipment to create content is expensive. So the price of the equipment. And it says for equipment owners, they don't know how to monetize. And therefore rental shops where you go for equipment have a declining revenue. And what it goes and does is, creators make so much money, therefore they can't afford costly equipment, and rental options are not delivering value. Clear articulation of the problem from the buyers and the seller side. So what am I going to do? Create a rental place. And it's a network. I'm going to connect all the rental shops to reach the creators, and they can lease equipment. And what am I doing? Customer acquisition for the equipment owner and equipment search for the person who needs it. That's the simplicity that we're going to bring into the presentations. And again, the Bear Company, as an example, the only thing sad is an empty fridge. And people like to explore bears, but going to a shop and getting bear is a problem. Getting good advice is hard. So why don't I do a profile of the taste that you like, and I will give you at-home delivery on a regular basis. Just become a subscriber to my company. Straightforward. You have a problem? I have a solution. The next question which an investor wants to know is what? I would say that this flavor profile, how well does it work? What's the AI that's there? Because that's the algorithm. Now, in terms of market size, very often entrepreneurs do not pay enough attention to this. Rarely have I seen people give the data on which the market is based. The thumb rule for an investor is they want to see the size of the opportunity. Is it niche? Is it big? Will this person have enough headroom to play around for 5-6 years before the business becomes stable? If it's too small and there's somebody well funded, it's all over before you start. So this slide makes a lot of sense to an experienced investor. And most entrepreneurs rarely indicate the source of this data. They consider it that it's in all the decks. So let me just create a slide and put some data in and show that the market is very large. The company which was selling cameras, renting cameras, the market size is not large. So size doesn't matter. It's what the innovation which you are doing and your ability to convince an investor that the opportunity is realizable because of something that I am doing. Compare this slide with this slide, that this is what I intend to achieve by 2030 if my technology works. And it's talking about huge amount of agriculture waste reduction, replacing plastic, and how all the plastic that they will sort out from the environment. Now this is a very simple slide, a platform which connects customers with personalized service in the beauty industry, and it says this is the number of hair and beauty businesses, and that's the number of people that I can target. Straight away telling you what the opportunity is. And if you can notice, it has the source of the data. Just like in the team slide, investors can just Google, go to LinkedIn and see what it is. They do precisely the same thing when you give the size of the opportunity. Is this number real or fake? So this is the size of the creator economy. Is this a good slide? This is the camera business, the rental. Hmm? Yeah, it shows that size, and no, 144 billion is such a huge number for the rental business of creative equipment that the first time you see this, you put out the number. It should be something like $1 billion, $1.5 billion, $2 billion, and say that's the market that I'm going to target, prove my platform, and then go to the next level. So remember, big numbers don't really mean much. So this was another slide to then say that they have 21 million potential customers. But imagine seeing this slide for somebody who wants to rent creative equipment. My brain would shut off the minute this slide would come on the deck, on the screen. Focus on the key issues at hand. This is what I call an MBA slide. Not to worry, there are MBAs in the room. So I'm repeating this slide because of this number. I wish the person had played with the size of the market here. The beer company, single slide, it's growing steadily. There are no market leaders for the home. Direct to consumer trend is increasing. You're saying that there's some tailwind in this industry. If I get in, I could make a go of it. And you start to get interested in that slide. Traction. Now, traction is the second most important piece of information that you have to share with an investor. Is your business an idea with no customers? Or has your business been tested with customers? Your products got tested, you may not have revenue, or you have revenue. Why? Why do you say it's difficult? Yeah. So this is the first time. Yeah. So I'm with you. This is the first time you better look at yourself in a mirror and say, is it right for me to raise capital? Yeah. Raising capital is not a right of an entrepreneur. Please. If you cannot justify that you need money to give rapid growth, to give value to the investor, don't even make the deck. I may sound harsh. Raising capital and then meeting your commitments to the investors is the most difficult thing in the world. Remember, your company is going to have value. If you raise money too early, you dilute. And when you need money again and again, you dilute more and more. So we always say, raise money when you have credible traction. Credible traction in the biomass business, where there are patents and technology will take 5 years to develop, you take early. Because there is something there which an investor will support you. medical products, raise money early, get people who know the industry to take the journey with you. But if you are using tech for AI for rental equipment, hesitate till you have traction. I might mention to you valuation. There are no rules of valuation. Even the best person with the best mathematical model cannot do the value of the company. It's a negotiation between you and the investor. So take a decision at which stage do you have legs to stand in front of an investor and tell him or her, I have credible traction, I have created a business in which I can predict growth, and therefore I need your capital to grow. And then the focus has to be on that particular number, which enables an investor to believe that that growth rate is achievable. Yes?
Is showing an MVP a credible traction or raising an invoice a credible traction?
So I'll answer the easy question. Don't show invoices, show number of customers, and I'm going to show you what else. But if you're coming up and showing an MVP, right, I do not recommend that to be taken up with investors. It is a seed stage investment.
Yeah.
Seed stage investments is best done through friends and family and not professional, or not from investors who are looking for a return. Be very careful and cautious on this particular point. Unless you are in the biomass business, right?
Patent.
Where you could just have a patent and you're looking for capital to do something. Yes.
I'm very happy you brought up this this particular evaluation, because I got stuck in this particular thing. So I have a fashion startup, and I was speaking to an investor, and he's happy to give me the money. But the thing is, again, the valuation. So if he's going to give me, I'll just take a number and say $100,000 today. My company is not worth $100,000.
Thank you. My company is not worth $100,000 at this time. And I have the problem, if this investor gives me $100,000 and the company is worth, say, $1 million in 5 years, so does he own the whole company now because he gave all the money, you know what I mean? And I got really stuck here, and I just, thank you, and I'll figure it out myself. So it's really a problem figuring out what the value of your company is, and I really have this, because again, as a startup, you just don't know at this point. You're growing, but where will you be in 5 years, in 10 years, if you take this money, how much of the company, because he wanted 80% at that time, so already it's a problem.
Yes, so particularly, so I'm going to just connect a few dots. So there is no easy answer for you.
Right.
But one answer is very clear. You never take money today for a valuation 5 years from today. Your company has to be assessed or valued today. We have ballpark numbers. So if you're at a stage where you need small amount of money, $100,000, it's friends and family. We're going to trust you and say, I'm putting money in, let's see what happens. But if you have a run rate of, say, 100,000 dirhams a month, you have predictability, and you have technology in your fashion business where you have optimized customer acquisition. 100 people who come to your site, X buy, and out of the X who buy, so many buy again. That's credible. So what you now have a distinctive mind space in the mind of the customer. That's the stage where you should even start discussing valuation.
But more importantly, in your particular case, you need, if somebody is telling you I'm giving $100,000 and I want 80%, now the straightforward, you need to be very clear that what he's trying to do is either trying to buy you out, okay, because if he's owning 80% and you're owning 20%, you are no longer the entrepreneur and there's nothing left for you to really make it pay. Okay? Exactly, or that's exactly what he's trying, because he thinks that he can do take this business to scale, but he needs somebody trustworthy who has some equity in him, who can drive this business for him. So is that your goal? Do you want to switch from being an entrepreneur to an employee? you're practically going to be employed tomorrow. So, very important to know when you are raising fund, what is the maximum dilution you will be doing. I normally recommend not more than 15 to 20% dilution at any point of time. Because if you don't really own the significant stake in the company, what is your interest after that? Why would you be, really running the midnight oil?
100,000 go.
Exactly. So, always look at it from both perspectives.
Also, you become unfundable next round.
No, you will never be fundable. You will not be there for
You are not there.
Exactly. So, even before looking at, whether what the valuation will be 5 years time, look at it today. What are you trying to achieve? What is it that you want? Otherwise, tell him, okay, I'll sell it to you, give me the 100,000, I put it in the money in my pocket and I go.
You can always take a debt if you want to.
That's a different thing. Yeah, but again, that for early stage startups, should be a last option. Unless it's a total different. If it's an asset-based startup, you have got a manufacturing plant, you need to buy machines, different. Then yes.
Sorry, just to follow up. So, for example, if I say my company is $1 million today, so it means if he gives me 100,000, he has 10%.
Correct.
That's right.
Correct.
Well, the company is not $1 million today. So this is where that
What's your good name?
Joy.
Joy.
If somebody is giving you 100,000,
Valuation is not based on real money that you have in the company. Okay? You rightly said earlier. Valuation is basically a negotiation between the investor and the entrepreneur.
Take an investment.
Okay? So, when you pitch for it, you need to say my company is valued at 1 million because of X, Y, Z. I don't know what your company does, but you need to prepare your pitch saying that this company in 5 years can be 100 million. Today it's 1 million, and that 100,000 will propel that from 1 million to 10 million or 20 million. That should be your pitch. And if you're not able to do that, then don't go for money. Don't even look at it. Exactly.
I think, Cicely, you're doing a program on the cap table in the few days which are coming.
You need to understand.
I think you need to understand that cap table part of the business very clearly when you discuss funding.
Exactly. Because don't get confused with valuations with your cash flows or your revenue in the company. It's not related at all.
I think if you don't know your valuation, you always can ask for sales, right?
You can. No, for me as an investor, I prefer safes in early stage company. Because I invest in a lot of early
I
stage.
think the bigger problem she has is she doesn't believe that.
No, that's what I'm saying. That should not go for funding. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. No, but I think from what I understand, she doesn't understand how valuation works.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Exactly. And that's the real problem for her.
No, the valuation
Today, that's a story by itself. Yeah. But
We should have a session. We should have a session on that.
In the next episode.
because see, these topics are very wide and very detailed. Like if somebody said safe, like when I go and I get one and somebody says my valuation is 10 million. Obviously, you back up with a spreadsheet of figures, which is the easiest thing to do, correct? All of us are experts on spreadsheet. You will say, this year, my revenue is very minuscule. Next year, it will jump 100%. Then I will jump 200%, 400%. Okay? Nice. And he tells, no, sir, I have done this. This customer is going to give me this much. I have already spoken there. I'm recruiting with your money this way. Everything. So what do? I tell him, okay, you believe in these figures, correct? Forget the rest of the thing. It will take 3 years. I will take a convertible, which will convert after 3 years. And I use the same formula that it does. At the end of 3 years, if I'm converting this, then this is going to be the valuation. If the guy is really committed and he knows how to deliver, he'll accept. Otherwise, he'll walk off. That's a very simple way from an investor perspective to look at, early stage company where there are no figures. Somebody was saying, we don't even have revenue. We don't know. And we want the money we have pre-revenue. We want the money to generate revenue. So this is a match. If everything else works, then this is something. The very critical aspect is getting this expectation built between the investor and the entrepreneur on valuation. It's the most complex thing. Because you always think, I should be, in millions. And the entrepreneur, the investor thinks, he has nothing today. So how do I give him 100,000 first?
Like an employee.
Yeah, but that's how investment happens. So you need to build that trust and get something between you guys which makes work for both parties.
So valuation is a separate topic altogether. So this is traction, and now suddenly the pet business, you launch a month ago and you're seeing traction. 8x people have finished the quiz. 40% have bought and at $48. Expected lifetime value is 468. A long way since our seed round. We've gone live on July 1st. August 20th is the date of the deck. We have a new brand identity, easiest thing to blow money on. We have an expanded footprint and we have a bigger team. Every statement that you make reveals your mindset to the investor, not your CV. How you think. When he gives you money, he doesn't manage you every day. He trusts you to spend the money the right way. All this reveals this to the investor. Strong traction since an open source launch. So many stars, so many developers are trying the product. 5 startups are building. Is this strong traction? Getting stars on Facebook, Instagram, and GitHub with your software? Understand what's traction.
500 developers is a good number.
Yes, but doing what? And it,
Developers don't pay.
yes. If somebody doesn't pay, it's not traction. Here, when the investment for sustainable, right, it says that these are the investments that they have already made. Which means whatever they promised you, something is working somewhere. Awards. I hate this slide at a personal level in a presentation. Don't waste your time searching for awards, filling applications, giving $5,000 to Fast Company and getting a certificate. Please. Now these are clients of that plastic company. What's the doubt? It's a startup. It's come in the problem solution, it's yet to develop the technology, right? So these are people whom they are working with. So the doubt which you have is, are they clients who pay or are they trying the tech with? And now they start to say that they are doing technology evaluation of the film which is going to come out of agriculture waste, which is their end product. You could do this at the lab level as well. This is how I consider best presentation of traction and milestones. Identify paying customers. This is what an investor loves to see and wants to then see your journey. What have you done to acquire these customers? It's starting to now tell your life story and then implicitly build a future projection. You are now saying, I will grow the business based on my performance in the past. Excel sheets and PowerPoints are the worst tools of startup business. They can be created. Customers who pay can't be created. Now go to market. So all the people who are at an early stage and want to raise money, their go-to-market strategy is extremely critical. Because you're selling your idea which nobody buys, but an investor will buy how you will reach customers to prove that your idea works. Now this is my pet business. It says I'm going to target cats and dogs, anxiety and allergies today with OTC medication. And then I'll get into cancer, arthritis, everything else. What am I saying? This is my initial target, easily achievable. Once I do this, then I go there. You have a plan to go somewhere. This is my company which is going to be doing renting of equipment, and it says once I build a platform, I'm going to now group the products that I'm going to rent, and I'm going to start with 2-day national delivery, then next day, and then same day. So what's the question that would arise to the entrepreneur? Investor? Expanding product and speeding up delivery. Is it valuable to the customer? The 10-minute delivery of grocery itself has kind of gone somewhere. Because if you look at all the 10-minute deliveries, the product range that they serve is negligible. And all the investment has gone into dark groceries or dark warehouses, which is capital intensive. So decide what's valuable to you. So this is again going to leave some doubt. Why is this company expanding? It has the potential to expand, no question. A rental platform will work. But why speed of delivery? Think about it. Would it? But why the speed? I need a skateboard.
You can put this, so for example, this camera.
Yeah.
You can rent it more than what
Usually need it at the same day.
No. Look at going ahead a crane. He's put same day delivery for a crane.
That's our company.
No, it's very well. So be careful what you put. Now this is one of the best MBA slides I've ever come across. There is no substance in this slide at all. I will do content marketing, I'll do coverage, I'll use influencers, I'll use guerrilla marketing and for product lifecycle growth. Huh? Yeah. Now, this is for the developers. Grow through word of mouth, attract users, reach them, engage them, delight them. MBA words. Free for hobbyists, 99 per month pro plan. Next, tooling for the whole organization, and later markets. First time they bring pricing into the whole picture. And then it says sales through organic adoption. If there are no metrics on any slide of go-to-market, remember it's fully out of Kotler, the marketing book. This is the strategy which is best. Talk about the customer, talk about the cost of customer acquisition, write how you derive the number from experiments. People will believe you. What you will use to do that, SEO, cost of customer acquisition, as you give your assumption. And then social media, give the cost of assumption. And therefore, what I would do if I'm investing in you, I'll invest in your marketing plan because you have targets. You're going to demonstrate the numbers to me. Why does an investor want numbers that are demonstratable? He used the idea of a safe note, which is converted 18 months from today. When you make commitments on numbers, an investor knows that if these numbers are hit, what the valuation will be. And if there is a deviation, what the discount will be. So this is where you start to commit your goals to an investor. So this is like a single slide which says, I'm going to go to this area. This is going to be my acquisition cost. And after that, I'm going to go to these geographies.
Beer.
Yeah. Now ask, again, too much of stuff on this slide, but remember when you give a journey and you're giving a 5-year journey, hang on. Your investment is usually for 18 to 24 months. Talk about what you're going to do in 18 to 24 months when you start running out of money. At the end of 12 months or 18 months, 6 months before your money starts to run out, you're raising the next round of capital. An investor is then able to assess what the valuation of this company is going to be. So when you say ask, talk about deployment of money and what the results will be. But in simple tables, this is just too messy. Can't focus on anything. Raising 6 million for this many months, I will release the community edition of my platform, build a team of engineers, get to a weekly active users, and so many people asking for help on the platform. Metrics, and secure so many content partnership and start positioning the software company as a go-to brand for engineering practice. So what you have done is 6 million for so many months to get this results. And if that is achieved, the valuation starts to work. Be precise in the ask clearly.
Sorry, can you get back
To this one? We'll share the deck with you soon. Don't worry. This is the cleanest slide on ask. Give me 4 million for 18 months to track 1 million annual run rate. Momentum. Momentum. This is again a complicated, straight out of an Excel sheet, investment ask. I'm going to give you revenue and profits. Profits we make. Give me revenue and customer acquisition cost. See, this is very interesting. I've seen very few slides show this.
Why is customer important to you as an
Because we're talking of revenue, gross profit and headcount. I'm not interested in that. That doesn't add value to my business. How you will get to that revenue adds greater value. And what's the, if you're getting 10,800 subscription, what's the value of that subscription? Is it a good subscription or bad subscription? So you run a SaaS platform and 100,000 people come to your website and only 10,000 of them subscribe. And you estimated it's $99 per year for the subscription. So I'm interested in knowing that when you reach this stage, my average revenue per customer will be what? And what would I have spent to acquire that customer? This doesn't tell me that. Headcount says I know how to recruit people. Gross profit tells you my margin will keep improving, right? If margin improvement happens and selling price comes down, what does it tell me? You're discounting to get subscription. If the selling price remains the same, it says customer has accepted the product. And if after some time the selling price increases and the margin goes up, what does it tell me? The customer is insensitive to the value that I'm creating in the business. That's how the graph tables have to talk. See, raw data of an Excel versus what it means is more important. In this particular slide, I wanted to highlight to you that when I'm raising 2.5 million, what I'm telling here is that so many people have deposited money. What does it tell a potential investor? There's somebody who's evaluated and given a check. And when you say so many term sheets have been given to me, what does it do? Remember the term which I have used? Fear of missing out. So this is a tricky slide. It's a psychological slide which starts to tell an investor, if you don't come quickly, you're going to miss out on this investment. But don't use this unless you're very strong in those term sheets. So we ask a question to entrepreneurs, do you have a signed term sheet? And very often an entrepreneur tells us yes. And what actually they have received, there are certain angel networks which give a draft term sheet and say, first agree to these terms, then we will evaluate your business. So it's very important to use these two elements. The other thing, outsource software development. Immediately an investor starts to get worried. What is this guy doing? Is technology going to be developed through outsourced staff or company-owned staff? These are all red flags to be then gone deeper into. Traditionally, a lot of entrepreneurs start companies with outsourced developers. Go to a company which is a software company and say, can you develop this product for me? You lost your tech. Those guys can walk away, or they can increase the prices and you'll have very challenging time. Yeah, this is what the Bear company does. So much money, so many customers, average monthly revenue of so much, these geographies, and then I will have higher managers. Very clearly short-term goals of growth. We've already taken too much time, so I'm not going to complete the deck. You'll get it, and we can have another conversation. Yeah? Any questions? Yes. I missed the answer. He's going to answer. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, first of all, for that was really amazing. My question is actually you pointed on the go-to-market, where you mentioned it's good to mention in the pitch deck about the customer acquisition and how we get maybe retention. Usually these are done in the, let's say, marketing strategy or marketing plan, especially if you have different portfolio of targeted customers, like how you gonna, what's the cost of acquisition, what's the cost of retention, the rate of conversion. But should the summary be put, or how you gonna mention that in the pitch deck, or what would be the best way to mention it in the pitch deck? If you, for example, one of the examples you mentioned is you're serving a consumer and you're serving the rental company, for example. So you're serving the end user, you're serving the service provider. So that would be two metrics for it. So what would be the best to mention it in the pitch deck?
The last part of the presentation, which says that appendices. Nobody ever tells you how many appendices to put in a pitch deck. Sorry. Nobody is ever going to tell you have only 12 or 20 slides. You can have 100 pages of annexures. And that's what you do. You make a list of all detailed marketing strategies by customer acquisition cost. Put it in your appendix. But put the summary which will excite the investor in the 12 or 14 or 19 slides as you want. Send the full deck with the annexes in your email or WhatsApp or whatever. Because an investor who reaches the end of your deck will see your annexes. If he's serious, he or she is serious.
Business model and
Yeah.
so do you have some good example of that part? Because I didn't see.
I have it here, but again, because of shortage of time. So remember the rental company? It has a distribution center, it has a local shop, and it has people who are going to rent. Right? That's this model, and it says it will charge 15% fee for doing the work that it has. So that's the revenue per customer. And then it's got a history of traction. So it is saying that in the two markets that it's identified, this is the rate of growth. And then you have another company which says this is the share of market that I want, this is my average fee, and that's my revenue expectation. So you're clearly telling the business model is basically revenue per customer or a gross margin per customer. So what does the entrepreneur do the math? That if they have a rate of customer acquisition which is commensurate with what they are talking about, this is the gross margin that they will earn. And if you then add the cost of customer acquisition as a number here, he gets a rough idea that they know what they are doing. They know that if they are going to spend more than this amount of money to get a customer, they'll be in trouble. So it's very simple. It will be free for everyone, and it will be premium for the clients who pay. So you get an indication.
Thank you. The second question is it is true that in the very beginning stage, it's very hard to acquire the competition data, and you can only Google and you can only talk among industry. Is there any what's your experience to share on getting this?
So if you're raising $250,000 and you have to pay $3,000 to a database company to acquire the data, I strongly recommend you acquire the data.
I paid
Because
twice and I didn't get any data.
So it depends on the database you go to.
What agency, what data agencies you recommend?
There are 5, 6. There's PitchBook, there is CBI, there is Traction in India, there are other companies. There's Carta, which gives data. So what you have to do is you have to go to an angel network and say, I'm going to be pitching to you. Do you have a subscription? This is the data that I need. So there's a retail model and there's an annual subscription model. And you're going to search for the companies which do a retail one-off data. So they'll also start to give you indications of what are the current valuations of the nature of your business.
It's a good hack. It's a good hack.
Thank you.
We are a traditional manufacturing base, and it was quite eye-opener to listen to idea that it's not about the profits what you are making or not about the cash flow. Then how the traditional companies are being evaluated. Like this is a tech startup, but as we are a 3-year-old company with a relatively good traction, now we want to expand on the regional level, and then that's a challenge what we have.
So what I don't know, I will tell you, I don't know.
Okay.
So,
I think what is said is true more from the deep tech IT companies where you are building something for the future, and the valuation is basically the future projections. In manufacturing, it's generally like a DCF, cash flows today, because also from an investment perspective, you are very capital intensive. Plus you buy machineries and you work on a depreciation model. So you need to consider that very, very expensive. So your valuation may not everything be exactly what is said. In your case, you have to go with the traditional valuation models. Okay, like I have investments even with the traditional companies. I have investment in a printing press, for example. Okay, very traditional printing press, but one of the best results that it is giving is the value, because when I joined there was no efficiency. So I converted it into IT company. Okay, today the delivery of that and the margins that they are generating, their profits is about 500%. Now their profits make a lot of sense, because those companies will never succeed if they don't have cash flows, because they pay to the bank. Their biggest debtors are the bank, because they cannot get equity too much. They will go with the traditional DSR model, 35% equity, 65% bank. Okay, so this is how you have to look at it. So when it comes into manufacturing, traditional companies, everything that probably what we discussed today may not be. For the new age companies, a lot of things make sense. And for you, your gross margin is very important. How best you impact your inventory, how best you impact the utilization of your machines, what is the turn cycle of your production before it becomes obsolete, because the machines become very obsolete very soon, correct? So what you have this year may not be valid next year. So the number of things that come into capital intensive companies, and the valuations change drastically differently from the tech oriented.
If I may add, there's one thing which we always say: equity is the most expensive source of capital. So for your business, debt makes a lot more sense.
Okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, we thought, but the main idea was to come and look at what are the other options, and then how other industries are working too. So then, I would definitely connect to you, because our factory is sustainable factory. So that's why what you are doing in printing, something very
packaging too. But even for us, we have to switch our mind totally in a different way when we interact with such companies.
Sure.
So related to the discussion at the beginning, what's happening regarding the valuation for the startups?
Didn't this happen earlier with the dot-com bubble and I think with the recession? First thing. Second thing, I can see that the trend of investors in the Middle East usually is focused on B2C. So when it comes to SaaS B2B companies, they really don't invest in that area. So is it maybe better to move headquarters from the Middle East to the US? So those are the questions.
The last part is totally different. But since your first part, I will answer as one. You know, the economies are cycling and they become very fast up and down in the recent 2 decades. The last major one, probably, if you take from 2000 was a .com bust, correct? People who know about it. You know, my second startup was started when Internet City was born here. Which was in 2000. Okay, and probably one of the largest startups set up at that time in Internet City. I used to pay 6.5 million rent to T-Com in 2000. Think about it, okay? 3 months we set the company and the .com burst. Okay? What would happen in normal case? Burst. That's what happened all to my entire competition burst. I'm the only guy who was able to sustain for nearly 4 years. I had to sustain my team. I had to ensure that I downsized my office. I had to set up an Indian office. I had to continue with my, whatever clients I could get. My client base was not the same as this one. I had some names, but they were not paying. Most of my clients are either telcos or banks. And during this downturn, nobody spends. But we believed in what we did. So we had to sustain. And when it came back, we had no competition. There's a saying that when things are very bad, that's the time to start. Okay? It's easily said than done. Yeah. So, but if you're pushed into it, and you can swim through those times, I'll tell you the rest of the things are all goodies. And now whether Middle East is a good market or US is a good market, number of things happen. Like for me, my first VC, when I started, there were no VCs here. In 2000, there was no VC. Okay? My first, at least then. The first formal VC who came into Dubai for invested in us. That was in 2003.
Yeah.
But even then, Client Perkins were one of the first who identified mobility. Mobility in 2000 was like talking, what we are talking about AI and ML today. Because there was no Android, no iPhone, think about it. And we were doing mobile banking. Exactly. Okay? But, Client Perkins came to me and they said, you want 2 million, I'll give you 2 million on 2 conditions. They said, you move to the valley. Start up your back office in Bangalore. We will write the check. Forget Dubai. Dubai is out of our radar. We don't invest in Dubai. Now, these are situations that you guys could be put into more. Now, you need to take a decision. Why did you start it? If you started in Dubai, why did you start in Dubai? Do you know the market here? Do you know how to get business here? Can you really make a success out of here? Can you make this your home base and then expand to other markets? If that's the case, then it doesn't matter. If you did it because, you took a coin and flipped it and said heads, so Dubai, then you are in trouble. So before you start, you need to know what's the best market, what's the best ecosystem, and why I'm starting in that place. Okay? A downturn or upturn should not dictate that particular